Hello everyone, Sai here. Thank you so much for joining me for a Kendra card challenge video hop featuring the one and only Gina K products. I am joining my other colleagues to make some cards using products from Gina K, and the ones that I'm going to be using are this one right here. This actually came part of one of those crop and crates. I believe it was maybe last year or the year before. And the stamp set is called Holloway Silhouette. So if you were part of that awesome event, then you will have this stamp set and you can also play along. I'm going to grab my stamp wheel. I'm actually liking this more and more I use it. Before I just needed something bigger than my mini Misty, but now I'm finding I'm using this for almost everything. So I'm not sure if it's because it's just a bigger surface and that's what I need, or it's just the tool itself. There are some really neat things to do with it, but this video is not about the stamp wheel at all. This is about Kendra Card Challenge. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting some embossed ink and stamping that evergreen because I'm going to be making my own background. Now there's two things you can do with this. One is leaving it like this, and then you have a tone-on-tone background, which is fun on its own and actually looks really sharp now that I look at it again. But when it comes to Christmas, there's two things that I love to do: snowbanks and gold. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. So I'm going to be making a golden background full of these evergreen elements. Now, the reason I'm making my own background is because I don't have any Gina K pattern paper myself. And so I thought I would make my own using her products. So this is such an easy way to cover a page with a big element like this. And the nice thing about this one, the way she designed it, it actually hugs in between each branch. So you can kind of just tuck those in and it looks like a complete background. So what I'll do next is, well, you can see my lovely overused sheet of pink printer paper that I've been using for many months, it seems. I'm going to just dump the heat embossing powder on that, which is a type of gold that I got from Michael's. I'm honestly not sure if Michael's sells gold embossing powder anymore, or embossing powder at all. I was there the other day and it seemed like they're cleaning out of all these items. Maybe the States is a little different. Maybe it's just the store I was in, but it seemed like there was nothing left. Now look how awesome that is. That is such a beautiful gold shine. Of course, I do have a light hanging right above to make it shine even more, but it's pretty fantastic. The next thing I'll do is use some Parsley ink from Concord and Ninth. And then I'm just going to fill it in the background with this stamp from Gina K. Anything that goes on top of the embossing will be able to wipe off, and then anything that's not will show up. So it kind of creates a continuing background effect. I could have, like I said, used embossing ink, but I didn't actually think of it until I started doing the recording, to be honest, when I was just talking now. But this will make it a little bit different color, but not much, because when you're putting green on green, you're not going to be really seeing it. Not on a dark green like this. So now I'm going to start building the card. The sketch that I am creating is sketch number 4, and I'm going to be matting all my pieces in black. Except for one, this gold piece. Now, if you watched my Halloween or my October video hop, I did this sketch and I loved it because it made me think of a belt. And I said that if you're doing Christmas, then it would be kind of cool to make a belt, especially a Santa's belt. I'm not going to make a Santa's belt, but I'm going to make another belt, quote unquote, you can't see me do my air quotes, belt card. So that's why I did the gold, and you'll see how that works. I mean, potentially it's just me seeing it, but I'd like to hear if you see a belt in this, and you can always leave that in the comments and just put yes. Just put yes, and then I'll know what you're talking about. So what I'm going to be doing now is just adding some scraps to the back of my gold square. And once again, that's just to make it flush so that there's no, it's not sagging or it's not dropping. It's going to be nice and flush. Normally I use up my white scraps, but because the matte layer is using black cardstock, I will use the same color. This way it doesn't stand out too much. You would think it wouldn't, but it kind of does, especially when you see it on the side. If you use like the opposite, it does stand out quite a bit actually. So now I'm going to put the centerpiece here. Just being a little silly there. And this is what's going to complete the belt look. So you can imagine that gold part is the buckle. And this is not part of the design, but what I did was I took the same piece of that pattern or that background I made, and I just want to line it up perfectly so it looks like it's going through. Technically, the only thing you're missing is that little latch that goes into the holes, but that's okay. But you can kind of see how it's a belt, and you know, if you actually added a bunch of fluff or like soft stuff, it would almost look like a fuzzy belt. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. To finish off, I put some shiny embellishments in the corner there, like the sketch shows. And then I used the stamp set from Gina K and stamped Happy Holidays and embossed it in golds. And this is the same cardstock that I used to make my background. Really pretty. I just love all this gold. It's looking so shiny, so pretty. Normally I always forget to put my embellishments, so I'm kind of patting myself on the back there to to realize I actually remembered to do it. Now to finish off the card, I'm just going to cut some scraps of paper again. Once again, I'm not using white just because I just want to make sure everything matches the black matte layers. But I'm also not doing this to make it flush. I'm using this for height. If you have black foam squares, that works too. I just am using scraps of paper because there are so many of them. And then this is that Parsley ink from Concord and Ninth again. And I'm just doing a kind of a fine, very fine line just around the whole image. You don't need to do this. It just creates such fine detail. It's barely noticeable. You probably can't even see it in the camera there, but it's very subtle, but it just adds a little bit. So that's sketch number 4. I was so inspired by this pattern paper that I created that I wanted to create one more card and to use the whole thing. And this is sketch number 1. So I actually created 2. I made the first one, and then when I created the second one, that is what I showed to you. That was the instructions for the second card. And so I do that quite often, you know, just to make sure that things look good before I do it. And I'm glad I did because it made 2 fantastic cards. Now this one, you thought maybe potentially the last card was full of gold. This one is really full of gold, but it just looks so amazing on this dark green. The pattern paper that I am using in this card is actually a Vicki Boutin's Christmas collection that I fell in love with. And I bought it's new this year, I believe, and I'll put that in the description box below just in case you're interested. It's full of some awesome, really bold colors, and I love her pattern paper. To give it a little bit of dimension from the rest of the background, I'm just going to prop this rectangle up with some foam tape. This is foam tape from Uline. It's about 1/32 of an inch thick. It's quite thin. Just gives it enough height. You can also use scrap paper to do the exact same thing if you happen to have quite a bit of it. So the next thing I'm going to do is add my sentiment, and I'm going to do it before gluing everything down just because, as you know, you can easily make mistakes. And so if we do it before, we can redo it. And this is going to be from the same stamp set as all the other ones there. You can see right there. And it's going to say, from our house to yours. So bring out the stamp wheel, and this is going to fit perfect. Where did that bird come from? Oh, I must have accidentally cut that out of the video. that bird was from the same stamp set. So let's just say off camera, I created that dove using only embossing powder. So I stamped it on some white cardstock with embossing ink. I covered it in gold, and then I heat set it, and then I fussy cut the bird out. So that's what that bird is. I totally forgot that was there. Not sure why I cut that out of the video, but I'm always wondering why I do the things that I do. Oh, such is life. So I'm going to glue this down. It is kind of warped because of the heat setting. So off camera, I did cut that out. There's no point watching that. I just had an acrylic block sitting on top of it just so it glues nice and flat. And then I'll prop this up using the same foam tape that I used on the rectangle. And I'll put that right in the corner there. So much gold. There's so much gold on this card. It's awesome. And then I will put my lovely little dove there, just above in that empty space. I'm not going to glue it all down. I'm going to let it just hover there. And then to finish off, I have taken some hole punches from the gold cardstock scraps, and I'll just use those as my embellishments. And that's it. Those are the 2 cards I created with Gina K products, creating my own pattern paper and doing sketches 4 and 1. I do hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget that there is a form that you can fill out, and you have until November 28th to fill it out with a chance to win a digital giveaway prize by Kendra. So definitely fill that out. Do not forget. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the hop with everyone else. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I will talk to you all later. Take care. Bye.